watching TFN today, and I'm your host, Jacqueline Colley. First, let's take a look at the stories making headlines in our news this evening. Government to leverage country's cultural advantage to promote reparation agenda against slavery. Opposition leader Dabo criticizes President Barrow's government for financial mismanagement. Business owners reveal bows in business due to ongoing Janjambure bicentenary commemoration. In sports, Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation donates $2 million to support Gambia's Africa Cup of Nations campaign. On the international front, Senegal's top opposition leader Ousmane Sonko faced setbacks as the Constitutional Council rejected his incomplete presidential candidacy. These and more are coming up in our stories tonight, so stay tuned. Last week, Friday, the United Democracy Party under the stewardship of Ousainou A.M. Dabo held a press conference. In the press conference, the Secretary General of the party, Ousainou Dabo, pointed fingers on President Barrow's administration, accusing it of erroneous financial mismanagement, labeling it as indiscipline in handling the country's finances. More in this report. In a scathing critique of President Barrow's administration, opposition leader, lawyer Ousainou Dabo of the UDP, has accused the government of egregious financial mismanagement, labeling it as indisciplined in handling the country's finances. Speaking at a press conference last Friday, Dabo points fingers at the ruling government, citing a lack of transparency and accountability in managing the nation's economic resources.
Yaya Jammeh, in all his madness, in 22 years, left us with a national debt of 48 billion. While President Barrow, who claims to be a man of austerity, who claims to be a man came to calm down, on excess on wastages, has increased our debt to 62 billion by 62 billion in 7 years. And this, of course, has brought up our national debt to the global figure of $110 billion. Our balance of payments and terms of trade are all negative. The official rate of inflation is said to be 18%, but the market tells us that the rate of inflation is much higher than 18%. Ordinary Gambians are struggling to make ends meet.
Dabo emphasizes that the lack of transparency and accountability in governmental operations poses a significant hurdle to maintaining a healthy democratic system. The absence of transparent governance mechanisms and the unchecked use of public resources risks fostering distrust among citizens, potentially weakening the foundation of a fair and equitable society. He raises a noteworthy concern regarding interference in the operations of area councils and municipalities, expressing serious apprehension over the undue influence asserted by higher authorities on these local governance bodies. According to him, such interference stifles the autonomy of these entities, potentially hindering their ability to serve their communities effectively and undermining democratic representation at the grassroots level.
Rampant corruption, lack of transparency and accountability, the drug menace, and interference in the operation of area councils and municipalities are a direct threat to our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, let me say that the Auditor General's report, or reports from the Auditor General, which some uninformed people, some uneducated people consider as opinion, shows the level of corruption in this country. That it is cankerworm that is destroying the fabric of our society. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate, for once, the National Assembly for at least passing the anti-corruption bill into law that has dragged for more than 4 or 5 years. I want to congratulate them for doing that. but also
As the nation grapples with economic challenges, Dabo's critic catalyzes discussions on the pressing need for improved financial discipline and oversight within the corridors of power. Jacqueline Colley, reporting for the Fatu Network. As part of events marking the commemoration of 200 years since the return of free slaves to the island of Janjanbureh through homecoming, the President of the Republic, Adama Barrow, has announced the country's use of the bicentenary commemoration and its diplomatic, intellectual, and cultural advantage to promote reparation agendas. Aliu Jala was in Janjanbureh and he files in this report.
The government of the Gambia, led by President Adama Barrow, has unveiled plans to leverage the country's cultural advantage to promote its reparation agenda for the perpetrators of slavery. This announcement was made as part of events commemorating 200 years since the return of free slaves to the island of Janjanbureh through homecoming. President Barrow highlights that the country will use the bicentenary commemoration and its diplomatic, intellectual, and cultural advantage to promote reparation agendas.
Development that the African Union, the United Nations, and some African countries have already started to ask for reparations. The African Union, for instance, has in the past 2 decades led a strong and persistent campaign on reparations for slavery as a basic human right for Africans. Coming home in 2022, at its 73rd ordinary session held in Banjul, Gambia, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights agreed to set up a committee that would establish a case for reparations. The Gambia will seize the Makati Island bicentenary celebration to use its diplomatic, intellectual, and cultural advantage to promote reparations agenda.
President Barrow urged young people to avoid using the Mediterranean Sea as means to search for better opportunities abroad. Instead, he encouraged them to stay in the country and explore the various opportunities available within the country's borders. He believes that they should focus on building better homes, improving their lives, and supporting their families. He also revealed plans for the development of the community of Janjanbureh.
Upon the lessons and success stories of the bicentenary, and further promote the heritage and artistic sectors for the gainful employment of the youth. Through support from UNESCO, the Ministry of Tourism and Culture has developed regulations for the National Endowment for Arts and Culture. The instrument will attract funding through grants for artistic and cultural projects. The island of Janjanbureh will also to continue to receive the attention of the Gambia Tourism Board, so that all the interesting heritage sites and cultural products will be fully upgraded and valorized to generate jobs through heritage, tourism, foster national unity, and project a positive image of the people.
Amadou Ba, the Prime Minister of Senegal, speaks on behalf of President Macky Sall and emphasized the strong bilateral relationship between Senegal and the Gambia, as well as their shared cultural diversity. Ba emphasized that the two countries are one people, one culture, and share the same history, and that they must remember and commemorate this festival. He described the festival as tragic in human history and one of the worst tragedies that has ever occurred.
Ces êtres humains ont subi les pires horreurs et ont lutté pour leur survie quotidienne et pour obtenir leur liberté il y a de cela plus de 400 ans. C'est par ailleurs l'une des causes reconnues qui explique le sous-peuplement du continent africain et le retard en matière de développement, à l'origine des faiblesses des systèmes politiques et socio-économiques actuels.
Meanwhile, the Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland emphasized the recent event was not merely a commemoration but rather an opportunity for people to connect with the struggles of their ancestors. She acknowledged the sacrifice and fight for freedom and stressed that the atrocities committed in the past should never be repeated.
And that all of us together will continue to carry the torch of liberty, dignity, and justice. This place on this anniversary, we confront and honour our history, and we reflect on what it means for our present reality. We think about where we have come from and the journey which lies ahead. The world is more equal now, but
After the official opening, President Barrow was taken on a tour of different stalls run by Gambian entrepreneurs. Later in the evening, there was a cultural display featuring diverse cultural groups. For the Fatu Network, I am Aliu Jalo.
It was indeed a very colorful event in Janjanbureh. And still in Janjanbureh, the Bicentenary Festival attracted and hosted thousands of people from both the Gambia and abroad in the island that was ceded to the British by local kings 200 years ago. As events geared towards the grand opening by the president, business owners in the vicinity of Janjanbureh expressed being optimistic about an increase in their daily sales. To learn more about the expectations, the Fatu Network visited Lamin Koto and speaks to few business owners. Our reporter, Alu Jalo, was in Lamin Koto and he tells us more.
The anniversary of the Janjanbureh island being ceded to the British by local kings is reviving hope and boosting business in the area. Business owners in the vicinity of Janjanbureh are optimistic about an increase in their daily sales. To learn more about their expectation, the Fatu Network visits Lamin Koto and speaks with Aliuba, a mini market owner. He explains before the festival, business was normal, but there has been an increase in sales during this festive period, expressing concerns over heavy taxation levied on business owners which has cost implications for their businesses.
So the government also is trying, but they also need more improvement. As well, the upcountry, here the upcountry, most of the governments, they get afraid of the income taxes paying system strategy, because you just come and tell, okay, well, your business is very high class, so you need to pay a lot of things. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to understand and you have to write how much you're selling so that you can know how to pay. But then also the government should also understand how are they going to reduce such a kind. Yeah, because it's so high sometimes, what we are paying, the electricity, so if the business doesn't go very fast, you cannot have income much. And in that, the business will go down.
Ibrahim Jara, a stationary operator and an entrepreneur, highlights the significant economic benefits brought by the festival. He mentioned that some of the invitations and donation letters printing was partially contracted to him, generating income for his business.
Festival, because most of the time we deal with the schools. And then the school definitely, they are our major partners, and then they definitely contributed a lot of in our income generation, because this festival coincide with schools are on holidays. So by looking at it, as soon as this festival started coming, we begin our income generation begin to push up a little bit, even it's not up to a certain level.
Ablanja is a boat owner who transports people across the river. He says that the festival has significantly boosted his business. Previously, he used to have 4 trips a day, but with the introduction of the festival, he now makes up to 10 trips a day.
10 trips tilo kono kawale soto. Because akumata bagal wala donc trip jamale soto.
Abdumbai, a driver, says that the commemoration has enabled them to keep walking, transporting more passengers.
Demang ñew bi day dox dañ ci dé gisin bop naas fi mom moy lol sa yu ñu fi ñëwétum bu festival amé day melni ci ñun événement dañuy ébo ko demako.
Many owners and small-scale traders emphasize the significance of this event, stating it has boosted their business due to the arrival of hundreds of people on the island. As the inflow and outflow of people increases, the demand for their products and services also rises, adding value to their business. Reporting for the Fatu Network in Janjanbureh, I am Aliu Jalo. On the anniversary of the
Thank you very much, Alu Jala, for those beautiful stories. Now, the Social Security have donated $2 million to support Gambia's Africa Cup of Nations campaign, emphasizing their commitment to national development through sports. The funds aim to sustain Gambia's momentum in the tournament. GFF President Lamin Kaba Badre expressed gratitude for the donation amid economic challenges. The Africa Cup of Nations is scheduled in the Ivory Coast, with Gambia facing Senegal on the 15th of January 2024. Well, it is definitely the derby of our century. Senegal, it's a Senegambian derby. Gambia versus Senegal. I hope the Scorpions will sting the Teranga Lions of Senegal. Now, news beyond our borders. Senegal's top opposition leader, Ousmane Sonko, faced setbacks as the Constitutional Council rejected his incomplete presidential candidacy and the Supreme Court upheld a defamation conviction, jeopardizing his role as the main challenger to President Macky Sall in the February 25th elections. Currently in prison on a separate charge, Sonko's legal hurdles continue, dealing a blow to the opposition's hope. Well, these are the stories that we have for you this evening. But before I take your leave, let's recap our main headlines. Government to leverage country's cultural advantage to promote reparation agenda against slavery. Opposition leader Dabo criticizes President Barrow's government for financial mismanagement. Business owners reveal both in business due to ongoing Janjanbureh bicentenary commemorations. In sports, Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation donates $2 million to support Gambia's Africa Cup of Nations campaign. These are the stories that we had for you this evening. Do join us tomorrow as we bring you another bulletin of TFN Today. I have been your host, Jacqueline Colley. Until then, goodbye.